folks. Welcome to another episode of the Preparedness Podcast, the podcast that brings you the best in preparedness information. You can find us online at thepreparednesspodcast.com. My name is Rob Hannes, and I am the host for the show. You can email me at rob@prepcast.info. Today, I am interviewing Michael Yates from Reliance Illustrated. It's a really cool magazine. But before we get to that interview, I want to cover just a few announcements. The listener survey, it's going great. Appreciate everybody that is filling that out. If you haven't had a chance to do that, go to the website, click on the listener survey banner tag, and it should be a quick survey, and it's completely anonymous, so you don't have to worry about giving up any personal information. The Preparedness Podcast forum is at thepreparednesspodcast.com/forum. It's a small forum, but it's a really good group of people there. They're very happy to help anyone out who's looking for information, looking for ideas and suggestions. We're all on there, and I take the blame for not promoting that sooner and more, but there it is. If you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, I would appreciate it if you could give us a little bit of a feedback and a rating. That's how other people find the podcast through iTunes, and that would help us out a little bit. Also, this is October 2012. There is another expo at the end of the month here in the Phoenix Valley area. It's the Reliance Expo. It's October 26th and 27th at the Mesa Convention Center. Some of the speakers that they have lined up include Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy, Robert A. Whitemer, and the survival mom Lisa Bedford. To find out more about the expo, if you're going to be in the around the Mesa, Arizona area, you can go to thepreparednesspodcast.com/prepper-expos, or you can simply go to the Preparedness Podcast website and search for Prepper Expo, and you'll find the post. You know, before I get to the interview, I want to introduce a new sponsor to the podcast. And again, as I've been saying, the advertisers that we go out and get for the podcast, we're excited when they come on board because these are some of the people that we like doing business with. These are the people that have items that you should be looking at. And our newest sponsor is CampingSurvival.com. And I'm excited to have these guys come on board because they've got a really nice site, and it's just one of those sites that, well, you know, I'm a shopper. I'm a browser. I love to browse. That's kind of why my wife doesn't send me out to do grocery shopping anymore, because it takes me 3 hours, because I love to browse. And they've got a great website to browse, because you start getting there like, oh, I completely forgot about this Flint and Steel fire starter that I wanted to get. And so you go in there and you're like, oh yeah, look, they got parachute cord. Yeah, that's cool. So you go down and you start looking at parachute cord, and then next thing you know, you're sidetracked on all these different things, and the prices are really good. And I love these type of stores because, okay, well, here's an example. You know what? If you're putting together a kit, or you're planning how to evacuate, or you know how you're going to go to your retreat area when you have to, you're going to need bags, you're going to need packs. Well, they got a whole section on backpacks, bags, and Alice packs, and you know, you can browse to your heart's content and look at all these different bags there, and it's just one place. You can go to this section and check out this type of bags, and that section and check out the military style bags, you know, the backpacks and duffels, and you can kind of say, oh, what fits for what, and you know, and you throw them in your cart and get them shipped to you. I mean, and that's just one category of items that they have. And so it's really, like I said, I'm excited to have them on board. I appreciate their sponsorship, and I think you should check them out. Oh, and before I forget, you know what? They're extending a 5% discount to the listeners of the Preparedness Podcast. You can go to, you know, my website and click on the banner, or take a look at the banner so you can see what the code is, or it's just remember PrepCast, short for Preparedness Podcast. It's PrepCast. Enter that in, the coupon code, and you'll get an extra 5% off your order. That's CampingSurvival.com. And now let's get on to the interview. I'm here with Michael Yates of Reliance Illustrated. It's a magazine, relatively new magazine. It's been around for, I think, since last year, if I'm not mistaken. It's a magazine I recently discovered not too long ago, and I really like it. It's a high quality magazine. The authors, you can tell from what they're writing about and the pictures that they've taken of their gear and what they're doing, that they really know. I mean, they have an experience level that allows them to really write good quality articles and to help people, help educate people into a lot of topics of survival and bushcraft and stuff like that. Michael, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking time to talk to us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Self-Reliance Illustrated. You can go to the website at selfrelianceillustrated.com, and they have both online editions and print copies. And as I said, this is a high quality magazine, and I really like how the authors are very much doing what we espouse on the podcast: is do your own research, test your preps, do things yourself, because if you haven't tested it, it doesn't work. And going through these articles, you can really tell these guys are out there doing exactly what they're talking about. The equipment that they show is all, I mean, you can tell it's used. You know, it's got fire soot on there. It's got discoloration from actually being in fire, and you can tell it's used. And it's I love that stuff, because that's what we need, is people who know and people who can teach us and spread the information for everybody.
It's really cool. It's our writers are basically common people writing for common people. We have no professional writers. I mean, they all have other jobs. They all do other things. We have a police officer. We have an adventure athlete. We have really people from all walks of life that have something that they want to share, that they want to show somebody else how to do. And it doesn't even matter. Say it's like starting a fire. You know, I may know 25 ways to start a fire, and you're going to show me either way number 26 or another way to do way number 12 that I didn't think about. You know, and that's what it is. It's all trying to pass on that knowledge, so that you know, when whatever happens is going to happen, that there's more people prepared. So, I mean, if there's more people prepared, then there's more of us to help the people that aren't, and it's less of a burden on those that are prepared, because we kind of share that responsibility, and you know, we can help this person a little bit more because we don't have to help the other 5, because there's 5 more people that were prepared. You know, and it's good that way. And like I said, no professional writers. We have the world's best proofreader. I'm telling you now, she can make a kindergartner sound like a college-educated person.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that is honestly, and I'm not even exaggerating here. As I go through, like I said, I've bought the first. You had a special where I think you had the first 6 or 7 issues in a big package, and I bought it, and I went through, and I'm like, wow, I really like this magazine, because you know, some things I know and some things I don't, but even the stuff that, you know, I'm familiar with, there's always a new technique, or somebody has figured out a better way, or a simpler way, or a more efficient way of doing the same thing. And this is one of the reasons I never call myself an expert, even though I've been into preparedness, and I've been out. You know, I've been in the military. I've gone through the survival schools. I've been out doing bushcraft and camping and you know, all the sort of field trip. But you know what? I never call myself an expert, because there are so many different ways of doing the same thing. There are so many little details and so many different techniques and different little odds and ends of how to do the same thing, that there's always something to learn. And I love when people share their experience. And one of the things I really like about these articles here is that you guys have got some really great high-quality photos that really show what people are talking about. You know, if you're talking about tying knots, you've got I don't remember his name, but you got one guy here who seems to do a series of knot articles. He uses very high-visibility orange parachute cord, and it's really easy to see what he's doing because the pictures are so good, which to me helps with the education process. So you guys are really doing a great job here. I really like what you guys are doing.
Well, the nice thing about that's actually a column. The Scott's Knots is a column that's in every issue. And Scott actually owned a company called Scott's Knots on the side. And so that was kind of a shoe-in for him to do. So you're going to see there's one issue where he makes a paracord sling for a rifle. And it gives you a ton of cordage to use. And even if you take all the cordage off, it's tied in a way that it will still function as a sling. Even if you take all the cobra weave cordage off, there's still a sling in there. He put a fire steel in it. He put a compass in it. So, I mean, it was kind of cool. And we took it to a show because I do shows with him. He's with the knife company Blind Horse Knives that's part owner of our magazine. And people were just enamored with it. What can this do? What can that do? You know, it's even really cool when you show them a survival bracelet. They go, "Oh, this is the cool bracelet. I like the colors." Well, do you know why it's woven the way it's woven? And then you go into the whole thing and tell them this gives you this X number of feet of cordage to use, and inside this cordage are strands that you can use for this, and this, and this. And they're like, "Really? I just thought it was some colored cord and you wove it into a bracelet." I mean, people want that knowledge, and that's what our magazine is about. You know, to get that knowledge to the people that want it. We're getting ready to start our third year in November. So we have, I think we have issue 11 is coming up. So we're going to have, November will start our third year. So we're getting excited. It's getting easier to do a magazine. We're learning how to do it more efficient. So and you're right. Our people that do our articles, they take phenomenal photographs. So, and that helps a lot with conveying what you're trying. You can tell somebody how to do something, but if you can't either show them in person or show them a picture of what it's supposed to look like, you know, you're kind of at a disadvantage. But once they see it, they pick up on it and then they grasp it.
Yeah, third year. That's very awesome. I was mistaken. I thought it was last year. Now, you guys do 6 issues a year, correct?
Yep. Yes, we're bi-monthly. Okay,
cool. Yeah, you know, I one of the things that really attract me about the articles is I know we've said it before, but the pictures. But the pictures aren't just, oh yeah, here's my knife. It is, I was reading an article about putting a patina on a carbon steel blade and the different ways you can do it, and it was loaded with pictures of, you know, what they were talking about. And the effects of it and stuff. And as an article writer myself, I know that taking pictures is one of the more difficult and more time-consuming aspects of the writing the article itself. Really, I don't know if you have one guy is taking all the pictures or if this is how you guys are doing it, but your pictures are a picture in 1,000 words can't even describe what I see here because every article is loaded with information and the pictures so that people can see exactly what you're doing, and I love it. And you guys are talking about a lot of things. You know, you talk about first aid, communications, bushcraft, and it's not always the same type of articles. There's a lot of stuff in here that I noticed that is, like, for example, putting a patina on the carbon steel blade is not typically a survival article that you would see someplace. This is really useful information that people, I think, can use.
It is. Everything that's in that has been done multiple times. Every article. We have a fire, a water, a shelter article, first aid, and navigation. We have a core group of articles that are in every issue. And the reason we did that is if you say we're at an airport and somebody left their issue of Self-Reliance Illustrated there, and if you picked it up and you read it, you're going to be better off after you read it than before you picked it up because you're going to have that knowledge of those basic core things that you need to learn how to do. You're going to learn one way how to do those, and you may not have known a single way how to build a shelter or to filter water or to start a fire. But when you get done with that magazine, you at least know one way. And that's what we wanted to do. It's nice when people get a subscription and they get those 6 ways of how to do fire or water or shelter or wild edibles or first aid over the year. That's great. But what about that person who, one, financially can't afford to buy a magazine, or two, didn't know it existed, and now they do because they read it and they have a group of skills that they can take with them, even if they don't subscribe to the magazine when they get home or when they can. So, I mean, that's what kind of drew me to the magazine. We set it up so that every magazine, every issue could help somebody make their way through a tough situation.
And I think you guys have accomplished that. Again, I went through these before and I read the articles, and I didn't read every article. I read the articles that basically at the beginning of the magazine. I try to read cover to cover on any magazine that has a lot of information on it. So I have not been able to get through all the articles here because it's like, oh, I want to read that. Oh, yeah, you know what? That sounds good. I want to read that. A lot of times you can go, I'm not interested in that, or I like to know this, but I can't use it now, like building a chicken coop. I do want to know it. You have to balance the time available. People are working, they got a family, and they can only read so much. But man, you guys pack so much in here. I'm having a hard time actually getting through your magazine because there's like, oh, I want to read this. Oh, that's really cool. I want to read that. And it just seems... It's amazing because yours is it's full of information, and it's not the same information here. Even though you're talking about another shelter article, another water article, another first aid article, another knots article, another whatever it is, you can tell it's completely written from a different standpoint. It's got great information in there that wasn't covered in your other articles, or it's looking at it from a different perspective or a different author. And so I think this is a great resource for people, and I think if they were to go to selfrelianceillustrated.com and take a look, I think they'd be pleasantly surprised with the information. Now, Michael, tell me the concept of how this magazine came to be. What was the impetus to actually put this out there, and who was responsible for such a really cool magazine?
Well, it was Dave Canterbury from Pathfinder School, and the owners of Blind Horse Knives, LT Wright and Dan Coppins. LT and Dan had said, I want to write a knife magazine. But they make working knives. Blind Horse Knives is a working knife company. I mean, they make knives that people are not afraid to go out, take in the woods, and use. You're not going to, they want everybody to be able to have a high-quality knife to use. So they wanted to do that. And then Dave said, well, I want to write a magazine about this. So I said, well, why can't we write a magazine together and it be on all things self-reliance? Because a knife is a big part of a self-reliance kit. And they know a lot about knives. Dave is a plethora of information on survival skills and all of that. So, I mean, it was kind of a ready-made match for them to do this. And then they hired our editor, Mike Henninger, who is phenomenal considering he'd never made a magazine before. So he learned on the fly. I mean, he was basically hired, I think, a month before the premiere issue came out. So he's been learning this going on the fly, and it's pretty much it's getting to be really, really, really good. And basically, really, it was just the four of those people, four people who had a passion about what they wanted to do and who knew people who had a passion about this. And that was the key. We didn't have to go out and find all these writers. They kind of knew them already. And when you do that, you don't have to search for content. It makes it a lot easier to get a pool of content. I know for a fact that we have a huge pool of articles now that we can pick and choose from to put in magazines, in the different issues. And then we're always looking for writers, and we're blessed to have the writers we have, but you always can have new blood and new ideas into the pool, which is great because, like you said, if you got to keep learning stuff. If you quit learning, it's all over. And you'll just get stagnated, and then pretty soon, bad things start to happen.
Exactly, and that is one of the tenets I try to push on the podcast is, do your own research and test your preps. And a lot of times you can't test your preps unless you're actually out there testing, out in the woods, out in the field, doing these things. And that is one of the things I keyed on is not just the first issue or a few articles, all through the series that I have through issue, I think, 7, which, again, like I said, I was thinking you guys were just last year, so I got some issues to catch up on. But the pictures are showing the people out there doing this stuff. It's not like, hey, I took this picture out in my backyard just to show you what this looks like. No, they're out there in the field. They're, you can tell they're doing the exact things that they're talking about. And we were talking before about new and different ways of doing things. There's an article here by Dave Canterbury about the portable desalination device, and he talks about how to set up in the field just using some basic materials that you probably can find around and be able to take seawater and desalinate it so you can drink it, which I think is a skill that we should know, especially if you're on the coast near the seas or the oceans. And what a great article! And he has the pictures here of him doing it right there. It's not just a theoretical sort of article. Boom, there it is. And I think that's great.
Right. I think that a lot of people may have seen that because I think they built something just like that when he was doing Dual Survival, where he and Cody were on an island and they were, making the seawater into drinkable water. And I mean, that's the nice thing about our writers and staff in general. Mike Henninger went camping this last week. He was on vacation, and it's been the coldest nights that we've had since last winter, and he's out hammock camping. So either he's freezing or he's using what he knows how to do to stay warm. It's really cool to see some of the stuff that, I didn't know how to do that, but now I know how to do that. Now maybe I can pass that information on to somebody else. And in essence, what I'm trying to say is our magazine is about, like our mission statement. It's not only passing that tribal knowledge on to our youth, but it's passing it on to people who will pass it on to maybe the youth that we can't get to. And, and unfortunately our society, that stuff has gone away because there's been so many generations in a row that didn't have to know any of this stuff, that didn't want to know any of it. So we need to get back to, I guess, our roots, if you want to call it that. It's just something that's really, really important. In fact, for everyday people, we have an article that reappears. It's called "What's in My Pack," and anybody can write about what's in their pack because they know what's in their pack, and they can be confident in what they write about it. And confidence is a huge part of this whole self-reliance thing. If you take the time and you learn, and maybe whatever situation you're in is not something you've been through exactly before, but you can keep your wits and keep calm and work your way logically through the steps in order to get what you need in this particular situation you're in. So that confidence in knowing that I've done something kind of like it, so I think I know I can do it and make it through this situation. It's a huge advantage to have, as opposed to somebody says, I'm stuck in the woods, I don't know what to do.
Right.
And that's what's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, that is what's in your kit or what's in your pack. I like that series. Actually, I didn't realize it was a series, but I did realize that in every issue there is some sort of kit that's being reviewed or talked about. And, people like kits. People love to see what's in other people's packs and kits and what they carry. And I think what's great about that is, it's the exposure of what other people are using, because there's so many different ways out there and so many different pieces of equipment, and what works for you may not work for me. But at the same time, I'm always looking for solutions. When I have I'm trying to put a kit together, or I'm like, I like the military canteen and the canteen cup combination. However, my wife may not like it, so I need to find something different. Or, for example, lately I've been thinking that as good as the military canteen might be, it's plastic. You can't warm or cook in it. So I've been looking at something else and looking through other people's gear and what they use. In fact, it was one of the issues in your magazine. I was looking at, I think it was one of Dave Canterbury's articles about what's in his pack or something. But he had this metal Nalgene bottle. And honestly, I knew Nalgene makes plastic, and I guess I never realized they made metal. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. And you can tell from the pictures that he used this all the time in fire, because it's supposed to be shiny metal and it's discolored, and that soot, when you use stuff in a wood fire, it just gets that way. And I'm like, you can tell he uses it, and it's got to be a good piece of gear, because otherwise he probably wouldn't have it in his pack. But you can tell that from the use, these guys know what they're talking about. They know they've got the education, and being able to pass it to other people, especially the younger generation, I think is great.
And I think that was the big catalyst behind it, because the people that, Dan and LT and Dave, they saw where stuff is headed, and you and I touched on it before, where if I'm around 20 people, and if I can get 15 of those people prepared, then there's 15 of us to take care of the 5 people who choose not to, and try to get them to come along and start and learn how to do this stuff. So I guess in essence, it's kind of self-serving a little bit, but it's good for the betterment of the larger group. So I mean, it's.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, we talked about this, and we agree that the more people that we can get prepared, the more people we can impart survival skills to, so that they have a better chance of taking care of themselves, the better a society that we will be, because we won't be so dependent on either a government or other people. We can take care of ourselves more. And I think that's an important skill. And the articles and the information that your magazine has is one of those ways that people can learn about these skills and stuff. Another thing I love about this magazine are the ads. There was a couple magazines, say 10, 15 years ago, that the articles really weren't that good anymore, but I still got them because of the ads. The ads showed me new products, stuff that was out there, stuff I hadn't seen before. And to me, in a preparedness or survival magazine, that's one of the things I enjoy. I like looking at the ads because it shows me who's making what, and other products that I can possibly use for solutions for myself. You guys got great ads. I commend your advertisers for supporting you, because that is very cool.
It's kind of a circle concept. So I mean, very important to us as a magazine is we want to support American companies and American-made products and products that work. And what it is if we can get them in the magazine, whether it be through an ad or through a review, and we can get them in front of our readers then in turn, see the product, they like the product, they buy the product, which makes these companies even stronger, so they can come out with more products, and it just goes around and around and around. And that's kind of the way that we approach the advertising. Is we don't want to sell them an ad. We want to give them the opportunity to help people, and then to grow and be able to help people more. I mean, it's an important part of the magazine, is to get the things that people need in front of them, so that they can further their training and their preparation.
Absolutely. And I have to commend you, the editors, your advertisers, for putting together a great resource. And I think the only thing I can see that I don't like is it only comes out once every 2 months.
Trust me, if we would need two whole staffs to do a monthly magazine, because it takes literally 60 days to get everything into place, to get it to the printer and get it printed. So we have plans. We want to become an all-color magazine, and then we want to, hopefully, if we can grow it enough and pass enough stuff on to people, where we can maybe become a monthly magazine. I don't know how far down the road that would be, but that's our goal. And then, of course, I think we're going to have a few little side projects going on. We talked about it. One may be another publication. It's kind of in the infancy stage, so we got to look at that and see where we're going with that. But no, it's awesome to be part of this thing. And another thing, people, if they want to get really, really up to date information, is if you go to our Facebook page. It's just Facebook.com/Self-Reliance Illustrated. We're on there every day. I post something on there every day. It's a question of the day thing. So, and that prompts discussion, and discussion prompts thought, and thought is what we're after, people thinking about stuff. So, that's a big thing that we use. It doesn't have to be a self-reliance question. Sometimes I put on there a question like Coke or Pepsi. What one do you like the best? And it's to get people to talk to each other, and that's the big thing.
Absolutely. There are so many people who are getting into preparedness lately, and I think a lot of it has to do with the recession from a few years ago. I think it really was a wake-up call to people to go, hey, whoa, I just lost my job. How did this happen? And not to make it a political issue, but the economy is a huge factor right now, and I think a lot of people, their eyes have been awakened, and there's a massive growing of interest in preparedness and survival topics, and there's a lot of information out there that people can absorb and consume. I definitely would recommend your magazine as one of the ones that people get. Now I'm thinking I should probably go and get the paper copy so I have them available to me, because the information is just really great.
Well, the nice thing about the paper copies is they're printed on very thick stock. So they really, if you look at it, it's kind of almost a reference material. You don't read this magazine and pitch it like a lot of other magazines. You say, okay, I'm going to put this up on the shelf, and, they last. They don't fall apart. And that's one reason it costs a little bit more to produce a magazine that way, but we know that people will have this information longer, or be able to share it with somebody and know that their magazine's not going to fall apart while somebody has it. And, that was a big thing. We've thought about going down in paper quality, and we're like, no, we can't do it, So, that's the nice thing about the print copies. The electronic copies are huge. We're on Amazon now, so we sell electronic copies through Amazon, and it just has opened up a whole nother group of people that we can get our message and get our information out to, so they can, be better prepared. You talked about the economy. The economy taken, if you look at it, really, it was a fairly large hiccup is what happened, and it's not bouncing back, but it's not on that huge steep slope that it was. And you're right, maybe that's what people needed in order to say, hey, this could happen. I know that the economy downfall a few years ago was detrimental to some people, life changing because they lost that 20-year job, and it's a shame that happened, but maybe it's something that the country needed a little bit, a catalyst like you were talking about.
It could be. I just hope that it doesn't get too much worse, because I think the interest in preparedness is great, but we certainly don't want to have to be in those situations, so we can always hope for the best but prepare for the worst. Michael, tell me about Blind Horse Knives and the Pathfinder School that you had mentioned. You said these are the sponsors or the producers of the magazine?
Well, they're actually the owners of the magazine.
Owners,
so
okay.
They own the magazine 50-50. Blind Horse Knives was started by LT and Dan. I think around 2005. They were both carpenter trade, and into the outdoors, into hunting and all of that. And they always bought knives, and knives used to break, or knives didn't come sharp, or they just weren't put together well. And LT says, I want to buy a knife that I can leave and pass on to my kids, and they to their kids. And none of these knives that we get do that. So they roundabout way started Blind Horse Knives, and in essence, that's what that company is making working knives that you can use, your kids can use, and their kids can use, and to keep it affordable so that everybody can get one. Their website's blindhorseknives.com. There's a knife there for everybody. The price ranges from entry level on up to however much you want it to be, depending on what you put on it or what you get it made out of. The Pathfinder School, I haven't had a chance to do any of their classes or go to any of the gatherings yet because I'm always working. But I'm looking forward to hopefully the spring gathering getting to go. We just did a show at the Mother Earth News Fair, which was an amazing experience because it's the biggest show I've ever been to. There was 20,000 people there, and in all walks of life. And I talked to lawyers, and then I talked to people who've been living off the grid, all within like 2 minutes of each other. And it was just amazing to see that diverse group of people there. We've done some of the self-reliance expos. We did the one in Hickory. I think next year we're going to do one in Colorado. And then, of course, if they have the Hickory one again, we'd like to do it. They have one in Mesa, Arizona coming up. Let's see, when is the date?
It's the end of October. It's actually close. It's basically in the area I live. We'll be actually going to. We won't have a vendor booth, but we'll be actually there to. Are you going to be there or?
We're not, because we have Blind Horse Knives does they own a knife show called the Ohio Classic Knife Show, and that's actually the weekend before. So we'll still be recouping and redoing stuff for that, and we won't be at that one. But my good friend Adam Francis from Equipped to Adore will be there, and a whole. The vendors at that show in general, and I think the Mesa one's going to be bigger than the one in Hickory. Great group of vendors. There's things there that everybody needs. I mean, there's water purification. There's heirloom seeds. There's power generation. It's amazing the gamut of vendors that are at those expos. I enjoyed going to it. It was my first one I went to, and I said, "Oh, I don't know if I'm going to like this," and it was great, and I learned a ton.
Yeah, there was one just last weekend here in Mesa at the Air Force Museum, and it was a little bit of a smaller one, but it was nice because I think it was comfortably packed. It wasn't dead, but it shows you how many people have an interest in this. Especially, in your area, because a lot of times you think, hey, I'm the only guy that thinks this, but, you're not. And I'm looking forward to the one at the end of the month here, the Self-Reliance Expo, because it should bring in some more of the countrywide or national companies in. The first one was more of a local expo, so I'm looking forward to this one to see more of the nationwide or the national companies that have a presence across the U.S. But yeah, they're great. They're great places to go to look at products, get hands-on, talk to people about them, and all sorts of, just like you said.
Yeah, I mean it's great. They have seminars that go on the whole time that the show's going on, and some of those were outstanding. Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy, I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're survival medicine. It's outstanding. In fact, I think they're going to have a suturing class, I'm thinking, at this one coming up. I don't know for sure, but they give you a pig's foot and they show you how to put sutures in. So I mean, it's kind of cool. I mean, you're not going to be able to take somebody to a hospital if the hospital's not open.
Right.
And it's awesome. I mean, they're going to be there. I know Adams, Equipped Indoor is going to be there. The Berkey guy's going to be there, so they're going to have a bunch of Berkey stuff there. They had a couple well-known authors at the last one, so they come in, they give their talk. Trying to remember who all was there. It was a fast 2 days.
Right. Well, I know that Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy are going to be there. I've seen that. Lisa Bedford, the Survival Mom, she's going to be there at this one, and there's a couple other ones that I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a really interesting show. My only issue is that they have it Friday and Saturday instead of Saturday, Sunday, which I don't really understand because I work Friday, I can't go there.
I think they're trying to spread it out a little bit, you know, and I questioned that too when I went to Hickory. I'm like, but Friday was packed. I mean, it was maybe even more packed Friday than Saturday.
Well, that's what
really surprised me.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Why would you have it on Friday when a lot of people are working? But that's what I've heard, that the Friday shows are still packed, which I'm like, well, that's great. Apparently they know what they're doing. And so, I'm looking forward to it. It's in a couple weeks or at the end of the month here, so it should be a good time. Michael, I really want to thank you again for taking the time to talk to me about the magazine and about how you guys are looking at putting out the information and stuff. Folks, I think this is something you guys should check out. It's Self-Reliance Illustrated, and you can find it at selfrelianceillustrated.com. I know that I spoke a lot about how much I like it, but go ahead and find out for yourself all the information that's in there. I think you're going to be very pleasantly surprised, and I think you're going to find it a good resource for you to keep learning new skills on a regular basis. Michael, thank you again for joining us. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed myself.
I had a great time talking to Michael, and if you would like to know more about the magazine, you can go to selfrelianceillustrated.com. I want to thank you for downloading and listening to the podcast. You can reach me through the website at thepreparednesspodcast.com, on Facebook at facebook.com/preparednesspodcast, and of course on Twitter as Prepcast. You can also email me directly at rob@prepcast.info. Thanks for listening, and until next time, enjoy life and be safe.